If you're watching this video, you probably think your biggest struggle might be people pleasing, or maybe setting poor boundaries, or constantly putting everyone else's needs way before your own. But what if I told you those aren't actually the root problem? What if those behaviors are simply symptoms of something much deeper? As a psychologist, one of the biggest things I've learned is that people don't just lose themselves in relationships. It doesn't really work that way. They never really had the opportunity to fully discover themselves in the first place. So today, I want to introduce you to a psychological concept called identity diffusion, and why understanding it may completely change the way you think about your healing journey. Now, when people first come into my therapy practice, they usually say something like, Dr. D, I know I need to stop taking care of everybody else. I know I should focus on myself. Or I know I have to set healthier boundaries and start saying no to things that I really want to say no to. Or I just need to stop people pleasing. And true, while all those things are important, they usually aren't where we begin our work. Because as we start to exploring their childhood and their family of origin and their relationships, something much deeper begins to emerge and unfold. It isn't simply that they struggle to say no. It's that they aren't quite sure who they are underneath all of the caregiving that they've done over the years. And those are two very different problems. In healthy childhood development, right, children are supposed to spend years discovering themselves. This looks like, they try different hobbies. They develop opinions. They learn what they enjoy, what they don't enjoy, what they like, what they don't like, what excites them, what brings them joy, and what matters to them. And little by little, they begin answering one of the most important psychological questions. Who am I? That process becomes the foundation of identity. But unfortunately, not every child grows up with the freedom to ask that question. Some children grow up in homes where survival becomes more important than self-discovery, where keeping the family emotionally stable becomes the priority, where there simply isn't enough emotional space for the child to become themselves. What happens? Instead, they learn something else. They learn to adapt. So as a result, maybe you became the responsible one, the helper, the peacemaker, the strong one, the mature one. Now just think about those words for just a moment. Responsible, helpful, strong, mature. Those all describe what you did. They don't actually answer the question, who are you? Because those aren't identities. They are roles. They describe the job you learned to perform inside of your family. And over time, if a child performs that job long enough, the role slowly begins replacing their identity. And eventually, they stop asking, who am I? And start asking themselves, who do I need to be for everyone else? This is why so many adults eventually reach a point where they feel strangely disconnected from themselves. On paper, life might look successful. Maybe you've built a career. Maybe you've decided to have children and raise children if that's your path. Maybe you've taken care of everyone around you. People they might describe you as being dependable and reliable, selfless. But somewhere along the way, you begin looking in the mirror and thinking, why do I feel like I don't even know myself anymore? That question is much more common than people realize, than maybe that you realize. So in therapy, I often ask my clients one simple question. I say, if nobody expected anything from you this weekend, what would you actually do? Now, of course, sometimes they laugh and sometimes they kind of stare at me blankly. And sometimes they become emotional. Often they become emotional. And sometimes they simply say, I honestly have no idea. Their answer tells me something incredibly important about them. And certainly not that they have failed, and not that they're incapable of knowing themselves. Those things are true. But that somewhere along the way, their needs stop becoming the question. And for years, sometimes decades, their brain has automatically skipped over to, what do I want? And gone straight to, what does everyone else need from me? And sometimes I find that shift happens so automatically, they don't even realize they're doing it. This is why healing isn't just about becoming better at saying no or setting a boundary. It's much bigger than that. Because healing asks a different question. Instead of asking, how do I stop people pleasing? 2, it begins asking, who am I underneath the role or roles I've been playing for all these years? Because it's incredibly difficult to set boundaries to protect yourself if you really haven't yet discovered who that self actually is. That's why identity comes first. And I will say, the boundaries become much easier once you know what you're protecting. I want to say this is the first video in a 4-part series where we're going to unpack this idea of identity diffusion together. So in the next video, I'm going to explain why identity diffusion and codependency often get confused, and why they're actually different, and why understanding the difference can completely change your healing process. As always, if this resonated with you, let me know in the comments. And if you're interested in learning more about codependency, family healing, and building a healthier relationship with yourself, go ahead and hit the subscribe button so you don't miss part 2. And I'll see you in the next video.